So at the time, we just moved into a new house and everything was kind of new. We were still exploring everything. It was much bigger than our old house, so we were still kind of getting the feel for everything. And it felt like every nook and cranny of the property needed to be explored. So we were very into just kind of getting into wherever we could.
Nearly 20 years ago, Brett and Erin Studer were just 5 and 8 years old, two curious, playful kids.
We had these wooden swords. We'd always pretend to be medieval and do sword fights and cool stuff like that.
But the day before Easter, what should have been another fun day for two kids playing outside, took a terrible turn.
That could have been the end of my story right there that day.
They loved to play outside, so that's what they were doing that day. They loved to play baseball. They loved to, play make-believe things.
Me and my mom probably had just finished coloring some Easter eggs, and then, of course, I wanted to go play outside with my brother. It was still pretty nice. Got a little brisk.
So we got to the back corner and I remember seeing the electrical boxes back there and I wasn't really sure what they were. I remember going up to them and Aaron being right by my side. And then I remember taking the top off the box and kind of looking at what ended up being the live wire. I didn't know it at the time.
Over there, looking for a backup sword, I find this nice big stick. I'm like, oh, this would be great in case, I need to, battle my brother again. And the open electrical box is just sitting there, so I'm like, oh, well, this would be a great place to hide it in case, my sword gets knocked out, and next thing you know, I need, backup. And so, being a 5-year-old, not realizing what it was, the top of the box was off, I stuck what must have been a wet stick at the time in the electrical box, and I just remember a big flash. Next thing I remember, I'm halfway back to the house, just running back to the house screaming.
The lights flashed in the house, and the TV went on and off, and I was like, well, what the heck is going on? That there's a flash, and I was at the kitchen sink, and I looked up and looked out the window, and I saw sparks coming out of the green boxes, and both of my boys running towards me and screaming. And right away, we saw that Aaron's face was black, and I thought that it was soot.
She started scrubbing my face because she thought it was dirt on my face, and it actually ended up being my dad's skin. It was black skin, so she was kind of scrubbing away at that, and when I started screaming, my mom's like, no, no, that's his skin.
Meanwhile, a fire had started outside among the dry leaves near the electrical boxes.
And that was another problem because my husband went rushing out there to see what was going on and decided he would try to put the fire out with a metal shovel, which he didn't realize it was an electrical fire. And once he hit the fire with the shovel, it flew out of his hands. So, but it was pretty scary. The whole half of our block lost power, so people were outside wondering what was going on.
I kind of just went from that young, nervous pang of, oh man, what did we do? How much trouble are we going to be into? Oh my God, what happened to my brother? Is he okay? And then from there, the ambulance was called and he was taken to the hospital. And that's when it really kind of sunk in, like, I wonder what just happened. Is my brother okay?
And when the paramedics did get here, their first thing before they took him to the hospital was to check to make sure everything was okay with his heartbeat and all of that, because they thought he had received an electrical shock, where fortunately, or unfortunately, but he just received burns, and not burns and an electrical shock.
And they were literally second to third degree burns. So some of the skin, they actually had to peel off of my face at the doctor's office.
His entire face was completely bandaged, not recognizable at all, just kind of my little kid brother all wrapped up in a hospital bed.
For me, what was one of the hardest things was they said if we wanted to, we could, take him to our family's Easter gathering just to try to keep him away from anything that might cause an infection. And he said to me, Mom, I don't want to go because I look like a monster. So that, that just breaks your heart as a mother to, have your son go through that.
I have distinct memories of years of my mom applying face cream to him to kind of keep the scarring down, and he always had very sensitive skin on his face from that time going forward.
For 10, 15, even years now, I'll go, I don't like to put sunscreen on my face because I put it on my face and I go outside and it burns because my skin is still so sensitive right here on my eyes.
The Studer family is sharing their story to help prevent future accidents.
Electricity is a huge part of our lives, and so you don't think about the safety aspect of it.
Safe Electricity wants you to better understand what electrical service boxes are and how to keep yourself and others safe. First, Recognize that these boxes, which include pad mount transformers and secondary pedestals, house electrical equipment that provides electricity to homes and businesses through underground rather than overhead service. Respect the equipment. Do not open, tamper with, or obstruct access to electrical service boxes. And if there is any damage, including a hole, a missing pin, or broken lock, immediately report it to your utility.
There's lots of other safety factors parents, I'm sure, are worried about as kid, safety-proofing a house for their kids. But, you got an electrical box in the back. Nobody really thinks to go check to see if it's got, a padlock on it. And it's definitely something I would recommend doing, and I sure will when I have my own home.
Just kind of walk your grounds, check out everything, try to figure out where, if anything, there are electrical utilities on your property, and make sure that those are properly secured.
I'm just so thankful that my brother wasn't hurt anymore, because he put his hands in there, he could have touched one of those wires and that could have been it, And, I was lucky enough to just get knocked off my feet, flash burn on my face, whereas it could have been much, much worse.
And it was that close to a really big disaster.
Safe Electricity and the Studers want you to learn from their experience and give TLC to those you care about. Teach what you know, learn what you need to, and care enough to share it with others.